What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Happy Thursday. The weekend is almost here. Welcome to another edition of Giants Collective. As always, joined by Adriana down there, Anthony over there. Chris has returned back there down in this corner. We put Chris in the corner. You don't put baby in the corner, but we put Chris over there. Do us a favor, hit the thumbs up. That helps out the stream huge. So if you haven't done that, that'd be great. Hit the subscribe button. Picked up a lot of subscribers last show. Appreciate it. Almost 7,300. That's awesome. You can check us out on TikTok and Instagram. You can also check us out on Twitter now at Giants HMA. Check us out on Twitter over there. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, and, of course, Apple. If you listen to us on Apple, leave a 5-star review. That also helps us out greatly. Since Chris was not here for us on Tuesday, his sister was having shoulder surgery. So, my man had to take care of his sister. Said she's doing good, so that's good. She's recovering well. Entertainah, as we used to call her years ago. That's good that she's doing good. So since you weren't here on Tuesday, Chris, before we get into the topics, let us know what you thought about their free agency haul.
Yeah, I wish I got an opportunity to, talk with you guys on Tuesday, but glad to be back. And I think most Giant fans were excited. I'm sure we'll talk about Evan Neal, which maybe I think you guys probably didn't get an opportunity to talk about on Tuesday. Today, that was a bit of a surprise. But overall, I like what he did a lot. As it was pretty obvious, he brought in a lot of former Ravens. I think a lot of us projected that was a strong possibility, bringing in Likely, brought in Stroud, who I loved. I think we all love that. Clearly put a big emphasis on improving special teams. Now they had Calvin Austin, who very well may be a punt returner for the Giants as well. They bring in a new kicker, which we all know that we all knew that needed to happen. Gano still hasn't been cut yet, but obviously I would assume he will be cut by June 1st. Sanders coming off an injury last year, so hopefully he could stay healthy, but he's been a good kicker since he's been in the league. Tremaine Edmonds, the big piece there at the middle linebacker spot. You kind of, fill that in with Bobby Okereke and Isaiah Likely, like Anthony's talked about in weeks leading up to free agency. I think he's going to be the de facto wide receiver 2 for this team. I think the Giants analyzed the wide receiver market. They said, well, what's smarter, to pay a guy like Wan'Dale close to $20 million a year or get a guy like Likely who could assist as a blocker and be a threat in the passing game? The Giants elected to go that route. And you know what? You think about a lot of young quarterbacks. A good tight end's a young quarterback's best friend. You think about Eli Manning early on in his career with a guy like Jeremy Shockey. Greg Newsome, I thought, was an interesting pickup. Still young, talented, 25. I know he's coming off a mediocre year last year when he was traded, but the strength of our defense coordinator is supposed to be that he could bulk up the secondary. So I like that move. Not a lot of risk involved. And none of these deals were more than 3 years. So, they're of the short variety. Jermaine Illuminor, love that signing. 3 years, $39 million. Most of us projected it would be upper teens, lower 20s for at least, maybe a couple of weeks before free agency for a right tackle, as successful as he was last year. So love to see that he's back. That was, I think, most Giants fans must have in terms of a guy that they needed to return. It sucked that we seemed to have lost out on Cordell Flott. And then the Giants seemed to pivot with the 2 secondary signings between Newsome and Washington. And I would think that the Giants will probably address secondary relatively early in the draft as well. We'll see how that plays out. But overall, I think it was a very good free agency period. They didn't get the blockbuster move like a Tyler Linderbaum, but when we saw the contract that came out, it came in even higher than what Anthony was saying. Anthony was saying he thought 22, 23. He got $27 million a year. So I can't kill the Giants for not going that route. We heard the rumors about Kenneth Walker. Obviously, he was a bit out of the Giants' price range. Will that mean that the Giants target Love? And I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout this stream, because I think there was some legitimacy to them being interested in Walker and them trying to upgrade the run game. But we'll see if he's even there when we pick at number 5. They brought Micah McFadden back. So overall, I thought it was a really good free agency period. I wouldn't say that I think it made us a Super Bowl contender, but I think the Giants addressed a lot of needs, and they didn't really, go above and beyond. I think all these contracts, for the most part, are reasonable contracts. $12 million a year for Tremaine Edmonds. $13 million a year for Likely. I think the Giants spent well, and they addressed a lot of needs, which is what you want out of free agency. Set themselves up.
What did you think about you got one 300-pound man back in Illuminor? What did you think about the other 300-pound man, Pancake Pat, as the fullback?
How do I not mention him? And it's kind of what we said. I mean, I thought we would sign a running back based on what we heard, but you don't bring in a guy like that to not run the football. So I think that even goes more to the point that the Giants are going to be a run heavy team next year. And I mean, you think about that with your guy running behind him next year when he's healthy with Cam Scatterbo. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch for New York Giants fans. So yeah, I think it's going to bring that identity, that heavy run approach that I think Harbaugh is going to bring to this team next year. And obviously he's going to be a big part of it.
You're the first person I thought of. We were live when they made that signing, and I'm like, oh, Chris would be proud. Another 300-pound guy, built a little different than most 300-pound guys. That guy is a fucking tank.
Yes.
He's a tank.
Yes.
All right. So with that said, Adriana, do you think the Giants did enough in free agency? Do you think they could have done more? You think they did just enough? What do you think about it overall?
I think they could do more. The one thing that we really haven't heard from them is there's been no restructures of contracts outside of Devin Singletary. And, I know they brought back Aaron Stinney. I know they brought back Evan Neal, which is like the most maddening, insane Giants type of shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, I thought we were past stupid signings like this when we brought in Harbaugh. And, the thing that also annoyed me about the Evan Neal thing, and then I'm going to move on, is I saw a tweet from Art Stapleton saying that Harbaugh liked his college tape and he thinks that he can do something with him. And I just that was 4 years ago. Like, he's been in the NFL for 4 years since then. And not only has he not improved, there's been reports that he has a god-awful work ethic, he has a bad attitude, and he has a severe injury history. So I don't get it. At the end of the day, it's a minimum signing. They can do whatever they want. If they get anything out of Evan Neal, amazing, but I'm not going to sit here and hold my breath and think that Evan Neal is going to be the right guard of the future. But it just makes no sense to me. Like, again, that's nice what you saw on his college tape. Who gives a fuck what he did years ago? And I know that I'm just going to tell all of you right now who think that they're going to cut Jalen Hyatt and Tay Banks. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. They just fucking re-signed Evan Neal. Jalen Hyatt and Tay Banks are going nowhere. I would bet a lot of money on it. So, and I guarantee they're going to say the same thing. We saw some good tape out of Tay Banks, and, we think with Denard Wilson, he's a press man corner. Like, we can get the most out of him, which fine. I don't care. He's on a rookie deal. Like, I guess you might as well, but the whole thing's absurd to me. The other thing about Neal too is, again, Harbaugh, his day one thing at the press conference, one of the first things he said is, we want guys who love football. And when we have heard numerous reports coming out of the building that Evan Neal is lazy, I don't think he loves football that much. Again, it's a minimum, whatever. He might not even be on the team come June, but it really, that's the stuff that really has my head scratching when I'm like, you guys don't want to pay a lot of money for a right guard. You don't want to pay Wyatt Teller. Then bring in Greg Van Roten. At this point, I'd rather have GVR. You can take that $1 million that you gave to Evan Neal and put it towards GVR. And at least you would bring back the same 5 starting offensive linemen from last year. So you've got some continuity there at the very least. So I mean, at this rate, if they're not going after Teller, if that price doesn't drop, so be it. Bring back GVR. I'd like to see them do that. And I really think that they need to go after a defensive tackle. I mean, it doesn't have to be Christian Wilkins. I would prefer it to be. I think I heard that A'Shawn Robinson got picked up by the Bucks, but if he didn't, I'd go after him. DJ Reader is still available. So, for a team that has incessantly said over and over again in these fucking press conferences that they want to stop the run, okay, we'll do something about it. I know that Tremaine Edmonds was one of it, and Micah McFadden, great, but who's going to help out Dexter Lawrence? So I think there's still a couple moves I'd like them to see. And again, they don't have to be the big splashy overpay type of things. I like a lot of the depth signings that they made. I think that's really important too. To me, that's what Micah McFadden is. But I feel that there's more that they could be doing. And what I can't understand is why there's no restructuring going on, why Graham Gano is still on this roster when you made it a point to sign another kicker. So, some things that I think have been interesting that have come out of the building the last couple days.
At this point, I think they have to I think they will bring GVR back. Because from what you heard from the beat reporters, they said that they're not going to spend any more like significant money at the guard spot, I don't think GVR is going to cost a ton. He's going to cost more than Evan Neal, which is a league minimum contract. But I think at this point, if you're the Giants, I think the smart approach, and I want them to take a guard relatively early in this year's draft as well, by the way. But I think the smart approach is to bring GVR back and run it back and have some continuity with that offensive line for another year. That's what I think they should do. That's what I think they will do. I can't imagine them going into the year with Evan Neal being a potential projected starter at the guard spot. I think they have to bring GVR back.
If Harbaugh can get anything out of Evan Neal, he might go down in history as the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah.
You like his college tape. I mean, that's awesome. The Giants liked his college tape too. That's why we took him 7th overall. His NFL tape looks like total shit. I put that somebody had a clip of that and I just retweeted it. How bad he looked on like 3 plays. It was terrible. And you mentioned Jalen Hyatt. That was another thing. One of the Ravens fans put what a quarterback hates to see, and they showed Trey Hendrickson, and I retweeted it with the quote of what a quarterback hates to see, and I put Jalen Hyatt's picture there. So, I mean, it's just true, but, what is. Anthony, what do you think? Do you think they did enough? Do you think they can do a little bit more? What do you think? Were you satisfied, or do you want a little bit more?
I'm pretty satisfied. I think, listen, it's a waiting game at this point. The first, second, and third wave of free agency has come and gone. Now the Giants, they kind of spent all their money. Now you wait. Like a guy like Wyatt Teller, last year, it was a similar story with Greg Van Roten, if you remember. Greg Van Roten, early on, everybody was like, re-sign him. Don't mess around with the guard spot. You got to get him under contract. They ended up signing him in July to 1 year, $3.5 million. That's going to happen again to Greg Van Roten. It's probably going to happen to Wyatt Teller as well, and at least 1 or 2 other guards that are sitting on the market right now. So I actually think the Giants are doing the smart thing. I think when you look last year, they were so quick to jump out there and address their needs. $18 million to Paulson and Debo, $50 million to Javon Holland. Do those contracts look good a year later? No, because they were so eager to fill in every hole and fill in every need that they went and they overspent on players who weren't necessarily fully deserving of those contracts. But this time they're not doing that. They're letting the market dictate how much these players should be paid rather than just immediately overpaying them. And I think this is a real change of pace from what we saw with the last front office iteration that had Kevin Abrams and Joe Schoen, and now when we've got John Harbaugh, Don Aponte, and Joe Schoen. So I think that's what this is. It's a waiting game. It's letting the market kind of calm down, and I think it's the right move because the last thing you want to do is get forced into paying Wyatt Teller 3 years, $12 million a year at 33 years old, and all of a sudden his production falls off a cliff. You'd rather wait, see if you can get him on 1 year's $5 million or somebody of a similar playing level. So I like what they're doing at guard. I know I'm a contrarian here. Yeah, ideally in a better situation, it's just a thin guard market. So what are you going to do? Ideally, I'd love to sign a day one starter right now. Okay, let's get a massive guard upgrade, but I don't know who that is. And I think that it's smart of the Giants to wait for the market price to come down, because I think what happened was Elijah Vera Tucker got overpaid like crazy by the Patriots. The Patriots overpaid the shit out of that guy. And now all these other guards are like, you know what? I want to get overpaid too. Sign me to this contract. And the Giants are like, no, I'm not going to overpay you. I'll wait until your market comes down. So I still think they're going to land one of, if not both of, Wyatt Teller or Greg Van Roten. And they're going to get them for a lot cheaper than Giants fans want them to be signed for right now. Doesn't matter if you have them signed now, if you have them signed in a month, because they're not playing football for another several months. That's my take on it. So I'm fine with it. I'm very satisfied with what the Giants have done. I think there's still plenty more to be done, but the new league year just started yesterday. So there's plenty of time. The NFL draft is in another month. Let's see what they do in the NFL draft. They could fill some holes there. Ideally, I'd like them to get some more depth at these spots so they don't have to draft for need. I think everybody knows I'm a big BPA guy. So I don't want to see them just, oh, we need a guard. Oh, we need a cornerback. Oh, we need this. I'd rather them be able to go BPA. So they're going to need to sign some more guys, but they've got time. They don't want to force the restructures, force the extensions. They're letting the market come to them this time around, and I think that's a nice change of pace. So as far as Evan Neal goes, I guess I'll play somewhat of devil's advocate. It's not really devil's advocate, but I'll try and rationalize it in a way. If you watched Baltimore Ravens football last year, there was this one guy who stood out every time you watched them, and I'm not talking about Lamar Jackson. I'm not talking about Derrick Henry. I'm talking about Daniel Falele.
No.
He would have been the worst offensive lineman in football last year. But what is he? He's a big converted tackle who's 6'8". It weighs in at 380 pounds. And John Harbaugh loves that guy. He was obsessed with Daniel Falele. Despite how bad he was, John Harbaugh refused to take him off the field. He started every game for the Giants. So it makes sense that for the Ravens. So it makes sense that John Harbaugh is going to sit down and watch Giants tape, see a big 6'8" guy that can't move laterally and say, you know what, that's my right guard. So I think that's what he's going for here. I think he wants his conversion project. He wants his developmental guy rather than signing Falele, keeping Evan Neal. The whole thing about it, though, the reason I'm so shocked by it is not necessarily from the Giants or John Harbaugh's perspective. I am just shocked that Evan Neal is returning.
You took my take, Anthony. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I can't believe that.
That's the side of it that doesn't make sense to me.
He has to not have any other options.
I would think
he wants to work with Harbaugh. I think it's Harbaugh. I think, listen, Harbaugh stepped in. On day one, he said, yes, he wants people who love football, but he also said everybody gets a clean slate for the most part. So Evan Neal got a clean slate. Evan Neal probably spoke to John Harbaugh, and he said, you know what? I want to be coached by you. I want to be a better football player. I want to prove that I love football. So that's my devil's advocate aspect of it. The fact that Evan Neal isn't leaving and the fact that he's coming back to this fan base that treated him. I mean, listen, he was a bad football player, but Giants fans did not treat Evan Neal very nicely. And I played my part in that as well. I played my part in that. So, But
he also didn't treat Giants fans very nicely.
No, he didn't. He didn't. Yeah. It was just a rocky road the whole way for 4 years. But he's returning to the Giants, so that tells me something, and it tells me something positive. So I think that he wants to work with with John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh wants to work with him, and like I said, John Harbaugh has a type, and this is going to be a different blocking scheme. He's not playing right tackle, and he's not moving laterally. This is the reason Patrick Ricard is on this team, is so that when they run these wide zones, these tight ends and these fullbacks are the ones pulling in this new offensive scheme. It's going to be Patrick Ricard lead blocking. It's going to be Isaiah Likely and Theo Johnson and Chris Manhertz lead blocking. You're not going to be asking Evan Neal to flip outside and be this pulling guard. So you can see the rationale of it just being put your hand in the dirt, get up, hit the guy in front of you. That's all you have to do at 6'8", 350 pounds.
You took my take though, Anthony. I was shocked when I saw it. I'm gonna be. I think most Giant fans were shocked when they saw that the Giants brought back Evan Neal. But when I thought about it, I'm like, I'm even more surprised that he came back, because if thinking about it from the perspective of Evan Neal, he's always gonna be a bust here, no matter what he does. Even if he's a decent guard, and he's able to find a role in the NFL, he's always going to be viewed as a massive bust by the New York Giants fan base. So I would have just thought, if I'm Evan Neal, and to Adriana's point, maybe there weren't a lot of offers out there, but I would have just thought, if I was Evan Neal, I would have looked for a new situation, like an Eric Flowers did, where he went to Washington and was able to somewhat improve his career as he had some successful years as a guard. So that's the real surprising thing to me. The Evan Neal thing, at the end of the day, I'm not going to get bent out of shape about it. It's a minimum contract. I get the fan standpoint where they say, well, we just want to move on. Like, he's part of the old regime. He's a complete bust. He's one of the worst draft picks in New York Giants history. I get all that. It's a minimum contract. At the end of the day, if he stinks, he won't make it out of training camp. So I think Harbaugh sees a guy, a big lineman. He wants to have a heavy run approach. If Evan Neal's good at one thing, it's being a run blocker. And he says, let me see if I could turn this into something. And if you're Harbaugh, you have nothing to lose. He's not your guy. He's Joe Shane's guy. Joe Shane's the guy that drafted him at 7th overall. If Harbaugh could ever turn him into an even satisfactory guard, Harbaugh looks like a genius. So, I get it from Harbaugh's standpoint. I was more so thrown off that Evan Neal wanted to come back here.
Yeah, as far as it goes, for me, I look at it and, to Anthony's point, the Giants didn't panic. And that's the thing. And Adriana also mentioned you mentioned it rather, the contracts. We talked about it on Tuesday. They really didn't overextend on any of these guys like they did last year. And they went out and they spent $100 and some odd million on Debo and Holland. And they ended up playing terribly. You would expect them to improve this year with a much better coaching staff than fucking Shane Bowen, who was just god awful. The Evan Neal thing, I think it's just his name. I think it's just him being a Giant. He got no money. I mean, they're not paying him a lot of money, and he definitely could be cut. Maybe John Harbaugh does want to see what he can do at right guard. I think a lot of us have been asking him to play guard just to see, because Eric Flowers was a disaster at left tackle, and I was screaming for years, try him at guard. You picked him, 9th overall. Try him in a different position. You went to Washington. He wasn't the best guard, but he was serviceable. Only got $30 million from Miami. Yeah. If you can get anything out of Evan Neal, it's a plus. And Anthony's point, he's just a big guy. Just use your girth. Just stand there. Just stand up and hit the guy in front of you. Like you said, there's no complex scheme here. And with help like a Ricard, it's not like you put him out on an island against the best pass rusher of the opposition. I'm not saying I like the signing. I made fun of it as much as everybody else did. Even bringing that meme back of him flipping burgers and going, thank God we got this beast back on our team. But, listen, I'm going to trust these guys until they give me a reason not to trust them. I do think they will address the guard at some point. And again, they didn't panic. They didn't go out there and just go, we got to have this guy, and overextend themselves like a lot of people did. A lot of these contracts that were signed by other teams are probably going to come back to bite them. I love Linderbaum. Is he worth $27 million a year? And whatever happened there with, I think the Ravens did some shady shit. I don't know how all of a sudden, we don't like Max Crosby. The next day, Trey Hendrickson's a Raven. That was weird. But now, what happened to the Raiders' cap? What happened to their cap now?
And did you hear what the Ravens GM came out and said after the fact to try to save face? He said that the plan was to both sign Hendrickson and to trade for Crosby. On what planet was that ever going to happen? What are you going to spend $70 million a year on the edge position for that was never going to happen. They were just trying to save face. Something sketchy went on there with Baltimore, but Anthony dropped out.
Yeah. He lost power again. He lost power again.
My God, what is with Florida, man?
I don't know. Florida's got problems, and I don't know what I have to talk to Mubsy and see if I can. Hold on a second.
Meanwhile, it's like raining / snowing here.
Where?
It's not sticking.
Oh, I know. It was 72 degrees here yesterday. It was 32 today. This is what happens in March.
Yeah, we're getting snow. Yeah, we're getting snow here too. It's not sticking, but it's crazy.
It's not snowing here. It's cold as hell, but it's clear outside. Just hold on a second. It's not a one thing. I know we will.
I'd like to address something in the chat while we have a second.
Go ahead. Do what you got to do.
Zendalion, I would like to explain something to you who's concerned about a lady cursing. This must be your first time to the show. Welcome. It's not new. I am a very passionate person, and I am very passionate about the Giants. I've been following them for 35 years. This is my job. I report and talk about the Giants on, this show. I have my own podcast, the whole thing. And when the Giants make decisions that are a little maddening to me, I get a little passionate about them. And I noticed how you're not, I don't think any of the guys have said the F word tonight, but I've heard shit.
I did a couple of times. It's just part of my vernacular.
Yes. So again, ladies shouldn't curse. I'm going to tell you, Sir Zendalion, to look into your inner misogyny and figure out why it's a problem for you that a grown woman has said the F word when referring to her favorite football team or regardless, because I guarantee you it's going to happen again. And I am sick of men trying to tell me that I'm not allowed to curse. I'm a grown woman. If you don't like it, plug your ears for fucking 1 second.
Can I say something? One of the biggest reasons I married my wife is because of her trucker mouth. So I don't want to hear shit. Women can swear all they want. I actually love when she gets pissed because I'm like, yeah. I really like Anthony never gets pissed when Jalen Hyatt dropped the pass and he got pissed. Yes. Same thing with Chris. They don't really do that. So when they get pissed, I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. We are grown-ups. So sorry if she'll wash her mouth out with soap after the show. All right. Regardless, good to have Anthony back. He lost power. Somebody said because Baddog was talking about girth, Anthony dropped out. I don't know if that's true. But, as far as the Giants go in free agency, you're not going to fix it all in one offseason. Okay, that's just fact. We have a lot of holes in this team. You can't address all the holes in one free agency, especially when you only have $30 million or whatever we had. You just got to be patient. I like the moves they made. I love the Ricard thing. I love the Stout signing. And I talked about this on Tuesday, that when you're at the 40, when you're at midfield and it's 4th and 12 and you have to punt, Gillen would kick the damn ball into the end zone. Yeah. And the opposition would get it at the 20-yard line. You got a guy like Stout that can pin you at the 4 or the 6. That's, 14, 16 yards of field position. That is hidden yardage. Chris, we do the game every week. How many times do we see opposition starting position, 34-yard line, Giants 22-yard line?
Yeah.
Special teams is so overlooked in today's game, and I'm glad that Harbaugh didn't overlook it. Same thing at a position like a fullback, a lead blocker, especially down on the goal line. You need you and I would cheer when we saw the I formation. Hey, the I formation So again, this just goes to the fact that what everybody on the panel has been saying since Harbaugh got here, we know the Giants are going to be run every team. People mentioned we signed Calvin Austin today. And again, that's a little wide receiver depth. Isaiah Likely is probably going to be the de facto slot receiver for us. You hope that Darius Slayton can catch the football. The Giants are probably going to draft a wide receiver at some point. They're probably going to draft a cornerback. So we'll see what they do, which leads me to the next point, which is, do we have a clearer picture of the draft, Anthony? Now that, is there a clearer picture? Do we still kind of not know? Are they still going to go PPA? Is it Sonny Styles? There's a lot of talk about Jeremiah Love if he gets number 5. Clearer picture is still kind of fuzzy what they plan on doing.
I think it's fuzzy. I think they could go any which way. They could go BPA, they could address a need, or they could trade down. I think that's the big variable here is they have a lot of holes to fill, and they don't have a lot of picks to fill them. Not having a third-round pick, listen, I'll sacrifice that third-round pick 10 out of 10 times. We've got Jackson Dart, so I can't complain too much. But not having that third-round pick does kind of suck. It would be really helpful if you could make 2 selections on day 2 and get 2 extra starters in here because you do expect guys that you take on day 2 to start. And I would say that the Giants probably need about 3 more starters on this team. They need a defensive tackle. They need a cornerback. They probably need a wide receiver. Maybe they also need a linebacker. So they really need like 4 more starters. A guard, they need a lot more starters. So having an extra day 2 pick would be nice. And if they could trade down from 5 down to 10 or something like that, get an extra second or an extra third, well, now you're in business to get those 3 starters out of the first 3 rounds of the draft. So I think that is now, to me, the most likely scenario. But I also think Jeremiah Love at 5, based on what we've heard, Harbaugh wants to be a ground and pound team. He wants weapons around Dart, but he wants to run the football primarily. And he really wanted Kenneth Walker, just didn't want to pay for Kenneth Walker. Well, you could draft Jeremiah Love at 5. That makes sense. It's not the route that I would go. I think it's really difficult to justify, and I understand Jeremiah Love's a really talented player, it's extraordinary, but it's tough to judge back to a rookie.
I think he went out again.
Wi-Fi going? Am I out? Am I back?
You're good. You're good.
You're good now. Yeah.
Anthony's stuck in the Matrix today.
Yeah, dead ass. I don't know what's going on. It's since the power came back, my Wi-Fi has just been fuzzy, but I think it's just
you're good.
Back in. But anyway, Jeremiah Love, I think he's really talented. I think it's tough to justify a running back at number 5, even though he is super talented. So I still like Sonny Styles. Everybody keeps saying that they think Jeremiah Love is going to go number 4 to Tennessee. I think Sonny Styles is going number 4 to Tennessee. I think Robert Saleh, his history of coaching elite linebackers, Fred Warner and the San Francisco 49ers, Drake Greenlaw years ago, I think he's going to want Sonny Styles at number 4. So if that was the number 1 player that you really wanted, I think you look at Tennessee as the fear factor there. As they're potentially going to steal Sonny Styles from you. So I don't have a clear picture on the draft yet. I really think the Giants could go anyway. Trade down and take Mansour Delane, the cornerback out of LSU. They could trade down and take the Penn State guard. I don't know. So it's really tough to say.
Chris, I got to run real quick. What do you think? I'll be right back.
Yeah, well, I'll disagree with one point Anthony made. I'll rephrase one point Anthony made, in my opinion. I think the trade down is the best scenario at this point for the New York Giants at pick number 5. I don't think it's the most likely scenario because I don't think teams are going to be dying to trade up to that 5th overall pick because it's not the richest quarterback class. And generally speaking, when you're trading up that high in the draft, that's usually what you're trading up for. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't think that's most likely. I think it's more likely they're going to stay at 5. I certainly could see the New York Giants trying to trade down and trying to take a cornerback later in the first round or a guard or whatever, if they're not enamored with a player with that pick. If you look at what they did in free agency, I mean, they signed 2 linebackers. Well, they brought 1 linebacker back. They signed Tremaine Edmonds. That doesn't necessarily mean that they won't take Sonny Styles. Styles had an incredible combine, super freak athlete, and would certainly be a long-term answer at that position. You look at what the Giants have done in the past. We talked about it last week. They've kind of gotten a lot of stopgaps at that middle linebacker position in recent years, whether it be Blake Martinez, whether it be Bobby Okereke, now with the Tremaine Edmonds. Edmonds has 8 years in the league. He's 27, 28 years old, so he's not going to be great for probably more than 2 more years. Hopefully he's great throughout the course of that contract. We'll see. So I won't rule out Sonny Styles, but I would say it's a little bit less likely. But if he's there and they love him, they're going to take him. But if I was doing a mock today, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I would choose. I'm not saying it's what I want, But if you're asking me what I'm predicting today, and who knows? But if I was predicting today, I would say if he's there at 5, the Giants would take Jeremiah Love. Because I think there was some legitimacy there to the Kenneth Walker stuff. Giants, obviously, he was out of the price range, but the Giants have shown a willingness to want to adapt to a strong run game. Scadaboo is going to be hurt at the beginning of the year, and everybody talks about Jeremiah Love like he's a transcendent running back. And I think it's a different scenario. I've seen a lot of people compare this year's scenario to the Saquon scenario. I think it's apples and oranges. With Saquon Barkley, you had a near 40-year-old quarterback. You had a team that was clearly needed to be in rebuild mode. You had what was thought to be an elite quarterback class that the Giants were bypassing the opportunity, and they were in a prime situation to trade down in that draft because of all the appealing quarterback options. I think it's a completely different scenario. In this scenario, you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. I could see the sense in taking Jeremiah Love if they think he's this elite prospect that could maximize Jackson Dart for the next 4 or 5 years. Is it my preference? Like you, Anthony, it's not. I don't love the idea of taking a running back with that pick, but if I was doing a mock today and he's there at 5, I think the Giants will take him.
Adriana, what the fuck do you think the Giants are going to do in the draft?
They fucking take Jeremiah Love, I'm going to be so mad. No, I'll get over it. I see the thought process behind it. I get it. They want to focus on running the ball, and he is a weapon. I've watched plenty of Notre Dame games. The guy's a stud. So I get it, but it's definitely not my preference either. And I feel like they made great moves in free agency, but I think ultimately it's hard to fully predict where they're going to go, because you could say that, yes, they could absolutely go after Jeremiah Love. They could go after Sonny Styles to pair him up with Tremaine Edmonds. They could trade back and get Mansour Delane because they need a cornerback. They could stay put and take Fano or Maui Goa. Like, I really think that there are so many options for them, which is what I like. I like that it's not going to feel like they're pigeonholed into having to pick a specific player because they're, this Seattle and they're a running back away, or they just won the Super Bowl. So, they can take Jeremiah Love and they're great. So I think it's really hard to predict. I also think that knowing Harbaugh and the way that he's gone and the way that he's drafted in the past, I think I would be surprised if he took Jeremiah Love there, just knowing that if Caleb Downs is there, if Sonny Styles is there, if an offensive lineman is there. I think we've seen from the Harbaughs that they do love a 300 man like Chris does. Like, they love, a big offensive lineman or, a defensive player. And I don't know. I think when you look at Newsome and you look at Ardarius Washington, who I think were good signings, there's still question marks there, right? Like, Joe Shane, his thing is on draft day, you have to be able to go out and play a football game that day. And if that's the case, you feel confident having Washington and Newsome out there for the first snap as starters? Maybe they do. Obviously, I don't know what they're thinking, but I don't know. I feel like I could see them going in any direction. The only thing I would say I probably don't see them doing is a wide receiver like Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson. Like, I'd love it. I love Carnell Tate, but I'm not so certain that they're going to go in that direction. And I'm okay with that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think we're taking a receiver.
I don't think we got a clear picture. I still think whoever the best player on their board is, I think they'll do that. Now, I'm sure they'll listen to trade offers. If they like a guard, I don't think they have to take him 5th overall. I don't know if they would trade with a team like Dallas. Like, maybe Dallas wants to trade up and get Jeremiah Love. I don't know why you would help your division rival. I don't know if the Eagles, when they trade with Dallas, trying to help them or trying to fuck us. I don't know what they were trying to do. We screwed ourselves anyway. We could have Micah Parsons, and we screwed that up royally. Chris, you're exactly right. I would not be happy with Jeremiah Love, but I'm not going to react like I did when we drafted Daniel Jones. Okay, I'm not going to blow a gasket because of this, because like you said, I feel like with a rookie quarterback and not a guy at the end of his prime, when you knew, or the end of his career rather, when you knew they're going to have to get a rookie quarterback at some point, you wanted to build up a team. The Giants have kind of started to do that. If you think Jeremiah Love is that transcendent of a player and he's that important to the offense you want to run, and they believe in him, well, it's not my pick, but I'm not the GM. I'm not the head coach, right? I'm a Yahoo on YouTube. That's what I am. I'm a fan. It's just my opinion. So I say it all the time. We don't need to like what Joe Shane does or John Harbaugh. We don't need to like Evan Neal come back, or we don't need to like Jeremiah Love if they draft him. But there's a reason we're here and they're there. There's a reason we don't do this. We don't have a GM job. We're not head coaches. There's a reason that happens. So, and again, with a whole new regime and a guy with a proven track record in John Harbaugh, it's not like it's a Brian Dable who had no track record, or a Joe Judge, or Pat Shurmur, whoever, Ben McAdoo. Well, Shurmur had been a head coach, but guys that weren't successful head coaches, weren't head coaches at all in the NFL. It's not like they're coming in and doing it. You got a guy here that's won 180 games. He's won a Super Bowl. The Ravens are in contention every single year. He must know what the hell he's doing. It's not my preference. I would like them to get a guy like Sonny Styles. I feel like our defense needs a much better run defense.
That's my dream. That's the one, what I want. I want Sonny Styles, but I've seen people in the chat say, well, look at Harbaugh's draft history. He's never taken a running back early. First off, he's never picked this early in the draft. But secondly, he may not have drafted a running back early, but he has definitely shown that he prioritizes a running back. He gave Derrick Henry a ton of money with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is the best running quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying I want Jeremiah Love, but at this point, after what we saw in free agency, I would not be surprised at all if he's there at 5 and the Giants take him.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a month to discuss it, but more than a month, like 6 weeks, right? What is it, April 25th, something like that, somewhere there. All right, that brings us to the close of the first part of this show. We'll get to the chat right now. If you're enjoying the show, if our language isn't too harsh for you, hit the thumbs up. And it's John, I'm not going to let that go the rest of the show, just so you know. I got your back. Hit the thumbs up. Make sure you guys and girls subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all you tuning in. It does help out the stream. So just give us a little thumbs up, subscribe, tell your friends about it. You never know what the hell you're going to get on this show. That's why it's a lot of fun, right? Jason, always in the chat, always supporting the channel. We appreciate you, buddy. He says, love that John Harbaugh has given Neil a last chance. Neil is by far our best blocking offensive lineman. Low risk, high reward at guard, especially 5 vet men. Our best blocking offensive. What happened to Andrew Thomas?
Andrew Thomas is?
Happened to Andrew Thomas?
Maybe he meant run blocking, but even that's not. Andrew Thomas is an elite run blocker.
He's still dead wrong, but he had to have meant run block.
I get it. Number one, Evan Neal's put nothing out there to show he's even capable of being an NFL lineman. But Andrew Thomas is an all-pro lineman. Nobody's better than him. And you can see the difference when he's on the field and when he's off. It's a major difference on this line. That guy's irreplaceable. You can replace Evan Neal. So I understand giving him a chance. Different coach, different scheme. Maybe they feel they can get something out of him. He doesn't cost a lot of money, and you could cut him if he sucks. But definitely Andrew Thomas is our best lineman.
I have to laugh, and I'm not trying to drag the cursing joke that we've been talking about. So
yes, you are. Drag it.
Big Case in the chat just says, I'm not going to curse, but he says, what if kids are watching this effing show? As if to say you shouldn't curse when you're on the show. And what? So kids aren't in the chat? So you're going to curse in the chat and then ridicule people for cursing on the show? I just laughed at that. I thought that was funny.
Well, it is what it is. It doesn't say it's set up for children.
I thought it was funny. That's all.
So it is. Do you think they haven't heard it before?
But also, why do you have your kids on social media if they're that young they can't handle cursing? Get them the fuck off of YouTube.
Yeah, where the parents at? You never know what you're getting here. It's for Italians. It's bound to get rowdy now and again.
Also, they cover one of the world's worst football teams.
And that's true too.
Come on.
Years of frustration over here. If we win a Super Bowl, our language would be very nice. Jan, thank you. Best group in the biz. Y'all are great. Go Giants. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate the support very much. Jason, thank you again, brother. He says, I'd rather Neal and GVR than overpay for Teller or Benito. Also, Giants aren't overpaying like Gettleman did. Let the market dictate these salaries. That I agree with.
Yeah. I'm still holding out a little bit of hope for Teller because it's going into day 5 now, and he's obviously not getting the amount of money that he thought he was going to get. So I'm hoping that, we can do some good bargain bin shopping and get a decent deal for some of these guys. Maybe, whether it's Teller or Benito or so be it. But I think it was Art also said that their plan is to go into camp with 14 offensive linemen, and right now they have 9. So obviously expecting them to pick up more guys from now until the middle of July, whether it's Teller or, someone else in June after guys get that post June 1st cut. But I'm on board with GVR. Like I've said, bring back the same 5 starting offensive line. Continuity is so important with that position specifically that I'm on board with bringing him back and seeing what they do. And I don't know if you guys have been following GVR. He's been all over Twitter this whole week, and he's like got Illuminors back. He's like tweeting, responding to fans and stuff. I'm like, hell yeah, bring this guy back. He's awesome.
And he was at Harbaugh's press conference too. He clearly shows a willingness to want to be back. I think he will be back. Like Anthony said, I think he'll be a late signing, but he'll be back.
How great is Illuminor, man? I mean, this guy is nothing but grateful to be back at the Giants, and that's 3 years, $39 million is an absolute bargain.
And I saw your post today on Twitter, Bad Dog. You said that he needs a captain's badge. Normally, a team wouldn't do that because obviously Andrew Thomas is a captain as well. You normally wouldn't put 2 captains on the offensive line, but I love the 300-pound man. I'm in complete agreement. Jermaine Illuminor is a great. He's loved throughout the fan base. I would assume the players on the team love him. I'm completely for it. Give 2 offensive linemen a captain's badge.
Yeah, someone retweeted that. We don't need 50 captains. Well, adding 1 captain doesn't give us 50. It would give us 5. So, I mean, your math's a little off. The math ain't mathing on that one. But it is. Everybody's a critic. Jason, thank you again, brother. Our 2005-2008 O-line wasn't littered with all-pro linemen, but they played a lot of snaps and had continuity. I don't need an all-star line, just functional. Exactly. Which is kind of what we had last year. They weren't like great, but they were the best line we had, and I don't even remember how long. So if they're serviceable and you got stars like your rookie quarterback's a star, and Blake Neighbors comes back healthy, and you got a really strong running game, there's no reason to think that they can't be, because the Giants were never a high-flying offense in 2005 to 2008, but they wanted the line of scrimmage, which, again, no matter how much the game changes, that remains the same. You have to win up front. You have to run and stop the run. I don't care if they throw the ball, 60 times a game or whatever they do nowadays. And we've seen the running. They both went to the cup at the same time. That was very strange right there. You both took a drink at the same time.
Oh, did we?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. Anyway, you have to win. You have to win the line of scrimmage regardless. And the Giants used to do that on both sides of the ball. We know that we did run the ball better last year, but we couldn't stop the run at all. So you still have to win at the line of scrimmage. And if they can do that, they don't need to score 35 points a game, 30 points a game. If you can win at the line of scrimmage, you're better on defense. You're getting teams off the field on 3rd down. You have a better punter that's going to get you better field position. You're going to flip field position. You score 25 points a game, you should be able to win a lot of games. And hell, last year, we blew a lot of games. And we were ahead in most of these games. Yeah. And we blew 4 double-digit fourth-quarter leads. So they're competitive. And that was against one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. Now you have a better coaching staff. You pretty much brought back the same guys. Yeah, you lost Flott. You lost Bellinger, who is the weirdest thing to me, that they gave him $8 million a year when Dable never used him here. You lost Flott and you lost Wandale. You replaced Wandale with Likely, and you paid less money. Now, we have not really replaced Flott, I guess. You could say you have with Washington, but
Newsom also.
Newsom. I'm sorry. I meant to say Newsom. We'll see. Those guys are only 1-year deals anyway. They're kind of stopgap secondary, players. So we'll see. But I agree. The line.
What about the offensive line, though? I got to give that offensive line some props. There were some all pros on that line. They may not have been the 1st-round draft picks, but Christie was great. I mean, they had,
O'Hara was great.
So they had some great offensive. But yes, collectively, you didn't think of any of them as the best at their position, but collectively, they were the best unit in the entire league.
Patty Traynor made a good comparison with Illuminor, Raheem McKenzie.
I can see that. Yeah,
she made that point on Twitter. Very, very similar.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad they got Illuminor back, and the fact he wants to be here is great. And again, the Evan Neal thing, maybe it just takes a coaching change. I mean, maybe he's not on a new team, but kind of is, in a sense, because he's going to a whole new coaching staff. Maybe the fact that John Harbaugh believes in him will give him a little bit of confidence, and he'll play better. You can't play worse, but like I said, if you
I'm not going to get
my hope that he's going to be any good, but
But if he's good, but if he's even adequate, John Harbaugh needs to win Coach of the Year. Even if the Giants win 6 games and Evan Neal plays well, John Harbaugh should win Coach of the Year.
Anthony, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also do think there is a chance Greg Van Roten's the only signing that they make at right guard. And then Greg Van Roten won the job last year against Evan Neal, but it could be round 2. Like, it could be a competition once again. I think Marcus Bowe would probably get involved in the competition this time around. I don't think John Harbaugh is going to look at him as a tackle. He might not even look at him as a guard, considering he likes 6'8" guards. He might look at Marcus Bowe as a center. I think he could compete with John Michael Schmitz at this point. There were a lot of people prior to the draft that said Marcus Bowe could wind up playing center at the next level, and he could be a damn good one. Now, obviously, on pencil to paper right now, he's the swing tackle, and I think he can be the swing tackle and also compete for the center or guard jobs. I think they're going to have Marcus Bowe compete everywhere, but I actually do think Evan Neal, he could get a solid crack at it. I don't think he's going to win the job, but last year he was able to compete a little bit with Greg Van Roten. Now he's got a year under his belt. He's got better coaching now. Obviously, he's a lot younger than Greg Van Roten, but if Van Roten's the only guy that they bring in, the Giants have never seemed to be fully committed to Greg Van Roten. It's unfortunate because he's been fully committed to them, and I think he plays some pretty good football, but they always seem to bring him in with the intention of having somebody replace him. So I do think even if he is signed later this summer, whatever, it's going to be an open competition at right guard, and I think Harbaugh is going to give Evan Neal, in this scheme specifically, a real chance at it.
I agree with you. I think he's going to get a legitimate chance in training camp, but I still don't think he'll be the projected starter, but I think he'll get a real opportunity. I agree with that. Because it seems, from everything that you read from the beat reporters, it seems like Harbaugh was the driving force on bringing him back, which is funny because Shane drafted him 7th overall.
Yeah,
Shane was probably ready to get him out of there. I would assume.
Yeah.
I would assume Joe Shane wanted him gone. He's like a massive blemish on his resume. And I also just want to say, I think it's Sato Berry. I don't know if I said that right, but he keeps talking about Ardarius Washington in the chat. And I just want to throw this out there on Ardarius Washington because he hasn't come up yet. That is the most underrated signing the New York Giants made. It's one of the best that they made. He is a better football player than Tyler Newman. He is the starting safety in my mind. He's going to beat
my
Tyler
only
Newman
worry
for
with
that job.
Anthony, from what I've watched, because he's really short, but he plays. He is physical as hell, and he's going to be. And you could see why John Harbaugh wants tough physical players. So you could see why he wanted to bring him over here to the New York Giants. But if he probably won't last the season playing the way that he does at the size that he is. But he's a fun player. He's going to be a fan favorite. I agree with that. Yeah,
he had the torn Achilles last year, so let's see how he bounces back from that. Some players aren't the same when they come back from that, but if he is, in 2024, when he was the starter over there in Baltimore, he was one of the best safeties in football. He was a rising star. It was like if he can stack another year, he's going to get paid. Then he blew out his Achilles, so he didn't get paid. He gets a 1-year prove-it deal with the New York Giants, but man, you talk about a bargain. This kid literally has potential, but still has, I think, if he recovers from the injury, to be a top 10, 15 safety in the NFL. Giants just stole him on this 1-year deal because of the Achilles injury. That's one of the best signings of the offseason of any team, in my opinion. Like, I love that signing. And I think Tyler Newman was such a liability against the run last year. This is how you patch it up. You get a guy who's comparable in terms of price tag, but I mean, the potential is there for him to be a lot better. So I love that signing.
Yeah. You get a guy that knows how to take an angle, because Tyler Newman's angles, I mean, he must have failed geometry because, my God, his angle of pursuit was horrible. See, the guy had no idea where the hell he was going. And I mean, maybe that's instinctual. Maybe it's coaching. I still hold out hope that Newman can be a good safety with better coaching. I just, a lot of us said that we felt like the Giants had some talent last year because they were in all these games against the best teams in the NFL, and they ended up blowing it at the end. I mean, it could have been much different scenario had we held on to those games. Stormtrooper. Thank you, buddy. He says, freedom of speech. Love the passion. Go Giants. Damn straight. Damn Skippy. Jason, thank you again. I would love the Giants to sign running back Brian Robinson. I loved him myself. Played with Niners and Commanders, physical runner who's 26. Scott Tracy, well running behind Ricard. Harbaugh wants a rough physical team in the fall. I love Brian Robinson. He's always been one of my favorite guys.
Yeah, he's a fun running back. He always seems to do well against us whenever he plays the Giants.
Tough to bring down. That guy breaks more tackles. I mean, first guy's not taking him down, kind of like Scattaboo. But I don't know. We talked about Jeremiah Love and the fact that they were willing to spend a lot of money on Kenneth Walker. I mean, not $15 million, but probably 10 or 12. I mean, Jeremiah Love is, I don't know what the 5th overall pick in the draft is, but it's got to be comparable, if not less. So
it'll be in that range by year 2 or 3 of the contract.
Yeah. So I mean, it is possible. Again, that's not the route I would go, but if they went that route, like I said, I got to believe in these guys, and I got to believe in a guy with a track record. It'd be much different if it was, a coordinator coming in here and doing it. So I'm gonna trust John Harbaugh's vision. He's done this before, and he's done it for a long time. Giants realist, thank you so much. The unpopular opinion: go wide receiver. I love at 5. Dart should be priority, and him taking a step will determine more than anything how good he can be. Make it easy for him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. My thing is just bring back GVR first. Like, I want to know that the offensive line is relatively in a good spot before you go spending, a top 5 pick again on a weapon. What I will also say is they did bring in Isaiah Likely, and I think that they look at him as a huge weapon for Jackson Dart. So I think that's going to be a part of it. But I love Carnell Tate. I really do. And I think if the Giants drafted him, like, the thought of him being paired up with Malik Neighbors is amazing, and I would be so excited to watch that duo, dress up every Sunday. So I don't know.
I don't think that opinion is that unpopular. I think the majority of more, I would say it's probably 60-40 at this point. A lot of Giants fans still want to go defense with Styles, but after free agency, I think a lot of Giants fans are going to view Dart as the priority. And like we said, months leading up, during the regular season last year, that this offseason was going to be about Jackson Dart. Do you honestly think going into next year that the Giants have done enough to support Jackson Dart to be able to maximize his ability? You could question that. Malik Neighbors, you don't know if he's going to be his full self to start the year. Scatterbo, you don't know if he's going to be his full self to start the year. You bring in Likely, who has potential for sure, but he's never had the type of role he's going to have here. He's kind of an unknown. I think a lot of Giants fans are going to be of the belief that the Giants need to add a weapon. Maybe not at pick 5, but certainly early on in this year's draft, whether it be the running back or the wide receiver spot.
Speaking of, go ahead, Anthony. Sorry.
I was going to say, I love Carnell Tate at 5. Like, I think the reason why I have issue with Jeremiah Love at 5 is because of the value of the position. And it's also why I think you can call in the question whether or not Sonny Styles would be the right selection. Like, we all just saw Devin Lloyd, top of the market linebacker, got, was it $16 million a year? If you draft Sonny Styles 5th overall, he gets $9 million a year. If you draft Jeremiah Love, he gets $9 million a year. That makes them among the highest paid players at their position as rookies. But if you draft, Carnell Tate at 5 overall, $9 million a year, he's not even in the realm of a Wan'Dale Robinson, of an Alec Pierce, and you're expecting him to be a lot better than those guys. So
Romeo Dobbs.
I think that if you're looking at the value, Romeo Dobbs makes $20 million a year. Are you kidding me? So if you're looking at the value of where you're drafting the player, how much you're paying the player for what you're drafting him, and then the position that they play in the market value of that position, that's where when people say positional value, they really mean market value of the position. And that's when you can call into question a Jeremiah Love or Sonny Styles and then lean towards a Carnell Tate. And I think Carnell Tate is a spectacular talent. I think he'd be awesome. I think Giants fans, they might moan and groan over it at 5 for a second. Once he starts playing, they won't be moaning and groaning anymore. It'd be a spectacular pick. I love Carnell Tate. That being said, I love Sonny Styles as well. I'm open to the idea of Jeremiah Love. It's just not my favorite idea. And ultimately, I do think, like we talked about earlier, trading down makes a ton of sense for this team.
Yeah, because we just don't have a lot of draft picks. So,
and I get the whole positional value, and it makes a ton of sense. And overall, I agree with it. But at the end of the day, if you're picking 5, the player has to be special too. And I'm not saying Tate's not special, but I don't think you completely draft for positional need when you're picking at 5 if you think there's a special player there that is a linebacker or a running back, and you may not necessarily feel a wide receiver or a tackle is special. I think you need to get a special player there with that pick.
Well, I agree with that. Like, if you think there's a gold jacket guy on the board, for example, I mean, like if you think Sonny Styles has Hall of Fame potential, he's your next Ray Lewis. If you're John Harbaugh, okay, you're going to take Sonny Styles for sure. But if you're splitting hairs between a few guys, I don't know. Maybe that's when the positional value needs to factor in. Like, I was actually talking about this with Alex earlier today. Mansour Delane, he is spectacular. He's one of the best prospects in this draft class, but his draft range right now is around pick 15. You're not going to take him at 5 just because of the positional value. Cornerbacks are expensive. Yes, that factors in, but you're not going to take him at 5. You could trade it down, though, and then you can take him, and then you'll get the value. But again, it's a lot that factors in. If you think Sonny Styles is going to wear a gold jacket one day, just run that card up to the commissioner. So I don't know.
I was laughing at this comment by our friend Dr. Garrett. He says, roses are red, violets are blue. You got a problem with my 80 lay curse, and here's a big F you. What do you guys think of the latest DJ heist? Cheers.
Well, I love you guys. Thank you all for sticking up for me. I appreciate it. And I have said before, and I will say again, that Daniel Jones's agent is a goddamn magician. I need him to teach a masterclass on negotiating, because we are all doing something very, very wrong, that Daniel Jones continue to get these insane deals. You mentioned coming off an Achilles before from our Darius Washington. Daniel Jones is coming off an Achilles. And this guy is getting paid another $80 million. It's unbelievable. Isn't it? It's 80.
I think it's 80. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 100, but maybe it's 80 to 88 is guaranteed. But it was 2 years, 100. I think
it's 88 with incentives up to 100.
That's what it is. Okay, yeah,
it's amazing. His agent is unbelievable.
This dude had a bad neck, which is why he didn't get the 5th-year option. Right, bad neck, torn up knee. He pulled groins. He's missed time. Now he tore an Achilles. And somehow this guy just lives a charmed life.
What was because they originally did
the Colts? Yeah, what are the Colts gonna replace him with? They can't. There's no quarterbacks in this draft.
That's why you got
kind of what happened with us. There was no quarterbacks. Yeah. When we picked it, 5th that year, there was no quarterbacks there. Although maybe Malik Willis, he got $67 million. I don't know what the hell the Dolphins are doing. So the Dolphins and the Falcons have no idea what the hell they're doing at the quarterback position. None.
It's supply and demand, though. So I'm not surprised. I guess where I'm surprised, I don't know, Anthony, maybe you know, how did they structure the Jones contract for the first year in terms of the cap hit? Because they originally had him on the 38-year million transition tag. And I said, okay, they're probably just going to go forward with that. I'm assuming, obviously, it's probably a far less hit the first year, which is why they would have done what they did to give him the 2-year deal. But I'm not surprised because of what you just said, Bad Dog, how it's supply and demand. There's not a lot of good quarterbacks out there. It's why the Giants signed Jones. In hindsight, of course, a lot of Giants fans poo-poo it and crap on it, but you could look at another scenario like Sam Darnold with Minnesota, and Vikings fans are up in flames about the fact that they didn't keep him. And
they just signed Kyler Murray.
Yeah, so it's supply and demand. So I'm not surprised he got paid, but I thought that they would have just rolled with the transition tag. That's where I was a little bit surprised.
Speaking, we mentioned Cam Scatterbo before. I think that our guys at HMA need to try to line up Scatterbo on the show. Scatterbo's no stranger to streaming. So that would be the greatest ever. We could just sit back and give Scat a live mic and let him go to town.
Oh, he's great.
Put the women and children to bed. We get Scatterbo on the chat. Fabian, thank you. What's y'all acceptable win record?
Competing for the playoff wins. Yeah, competing at a bare minimum, they have to be playing meaningful football mid to late December this year.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
especially since John Harbaugh, he made like a promise. He got up on the press conference first day and said, "I expect to be playing in the playoffs next year. This is my expectation. This is what we're going to be here competing for championships." So he set the expectation. He's all about accountability, so we'll hold him accountable too. If they're not competing for the playoffs next year, I'll be complaining about it.
Right. If our season's over by Halloween again, we have to at least get to around Christmas. Can we at least get there where at least we have an outside shot at it? Even if we need help, even when they show a playoff picture on the screen on, December 15th, as long as it says in the hunt and the Giants are there, that's a successful season.
I will put a little asterisk there, though. It can't be like Joe Judge's first year where we were in the hunt because the division was god awful and we won 6 games and we nearly that's legitimate in the hunt, like where we're hovering around 500 late into the year.
I want to see them beat the division. I want to see them get some wins over Philadelphia, Dallas, Washington, Chicago this year. I want to see them compete this year, like legitimately.
We did with Philly's ass last year, which is a thing of beauty, without question. Dr. Garrett, thank you, says, is my favorite 4 Italians. Can you give me the best? Get the fuck out of here and let the chat vote for a winner. There's mine. Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
That was better, I think. Get the fuck out of here.
Go ahead, Audrey.
Get the fuck out of here.
That might have been the best. I'm either going with that's tough. I think I'm going to go with Anthony. I think I like that, but all of them were spectacular.
A lot of practice as Giants fans.
Yeah,
right?
Doesn't get more Italian than that.
Oh God.
By the way, I don't know if you guys have been watching the World Baseball Classic. Did you see the Italians drinking espresso in the dugout?
I actually streamed that game. That was a huge stream. I actually streamed that game because it was important to the United States. And I got to say, big shout out to the Italians for helping out the United States. And Vinny Pasquantino, 3 homers for Vinny Pasquantino.
Let's be real, and we're all Italian Americans here. They're not really Team Italy. These are all people that were born in like New Jersey and New York.
Yeah, of course.
They couldn't make the American team.
Of course. But Vinny Pasquantino, Vincenzo Pasquantino, 3 homers. Yeah. I had a chance at a 4th, and he walked him on 4 pitches. That's bullshit. Let him hit. But the United States does play tomorrow because of that. So I've been streaming those games. I love baseball.
So the U.S. is playing Italy. That's their first.
No, U.S. gets Canada.
Oh, Canada. Okay.
Yeah. I think Italy gets Puerto Rico. I think, if I'm not mistaken. There's no games today. They start tomorrow. JJ, and thank you, brother. He says if Harbaugh can get Banks and kneel the ball out, I mean, he already gets a gold jacket, but I think he should get a platinum jacket if he can.
Coach of the year.
Those guys, coach of the decade.
Yeah.
He gets any kind of production out of those two. Although Banks showed that he could return kicks. I'll give him that much.
Yeah.
To me, Banks has the potential. Like we've seen the difference to me between Banks and Neal is that Banks, we saw an entire season of really good football. And even the following year, he was okay. And he hasn't dealt with the injury issues that Neal has dealt with. I think Banks is a little immature. I don't know if he has similar work ethic issues. Like we've seen him give up on plays and stuff like that. But maybe part of it is just going to be a coach like Harbaugh that's coming in and is like, you're either all in or you're toast, and there's no in between. There's accountability here. Like you're not going to get away with slacking off in meetings or not doing what you need to do. You know, if I see you dogging it out there, like you're cooked, and that's it. And that's the end of the discussion. And maybe that's what someone like Banks and Neal needs. And if Harbaugh thinks that he can get anything remotely good out of them, God bless them. The big focus with this coaching staff is player development. I've given up on Evan Neal, but if they can get something out of him, then more power to them. I think it's amazing. And, you know, obviously what they plan to do, but I just have more faith that they'll get something better out of Banks because I think he has more of like the natural ability that we've seen over the last couple of years. He's just.
And our defensive coordinator is known to maximize the talent that you have at that position. So I could see Banks having a good year if he gets an opportunity.
And the thing with Banks that I like is that he's finally playing in a scheme that fits his strengths. This is a press-heavy scheme, and it's a zone coverage-heavy scheme. Watch him at Maryland. Watch what he did. I know everybody called him a press man corner when the Giants drafted him because Wink Martindale played a lot of press man. He had traits. He was the most athletic cornerback in the class. That means he has traits that project him as a press man cornerback. He played a lot of press at Maryland, but it was zone press. He's a zone cover corner, and I've been banging the drum about this since he was drafted. The Giants need to play more zone. They won't maximize Banks until they start playing more zone coverage. Well, now they're finally starting to play more zone coverage this year. They're going to play a lot of zone because that's what Denard Wilson does. And he develops cornerbacks. And he likes these cornerbacks to play physical and use their speed and their length and their size. Those are all the things that Deontay Banks has. He's honestly a perfect scheme fit for Denard Wilson. The mental aspect of it, the character flaws, you know, that's the other half of it. I think that's the thing that the Giants have really struggled with under Joe Shane. Sometimes they do find great talents. There's no doubt about it. Evan Neal is physically gifted and he's talented. Deontay Banks, physically gifted, talented. The mental makeup of those two guys was not there. That's where they missed. They missed on the person, not the player. They missed on the person. So if John Harbaugh can straighten the person out and get the person in tune with the player, maybe we'll get something out of these guys. It's probably unlikely, but if you're going to hold out hope, you're going to hold out hope because now the scheme actually does match up with these two players, Neal too as well. It actually does match up with him.
He's
it
a run
matches up
blocker,
with Banks. Yeah. And now you got to hope that Harbaugh, what he sees, he says he sees something in him. He hasn't said anything about Banks yet, but maybe he sees something in him too. I see something in him as a kick returner, so I think he's a really good kick returner. Everybody says, "Oh, he just had that one touchdown." It wasn't just that one touchdown. He had several great kick returns. Yeah. So at the very least, he's worth holding on to for that. And then you hope that he develops elsewhere. And again, you hold out hope that Harbaugh's evaluation of these guys is correct and he's able to get the most out of them.
Yeah, they got nowhere to go but up. And we talked about how Harbaugh, likes special teams. And obviously, so if Deontay Banks is returning the kicks out to the 35, 40, yard line. I mean, that's field position for us. And he had a lot of returns that did go past the 30 and the 40-yard line before he had that kickoff return for a touchdown. And I remember Chris and I doing the games at the end of the year saying, well, maybe he can be a kickoff return and you get something out of him. But if he's in a better scheme, and these guys should mature after a while. Sometimes it takes guys longer to mature. But obviously, they're first-round picks for a reason. There is talent there somewhere. You don't go 7th overall by accident. You don't go 24th overall by accident. There's a reason that they're there. They obviously have physical gifts, but maybe the mental game's not there. And, a lot of it is mental. And some guys just rest in their laurels. Hey, they've been the best at their position their entire career. In high school, they were the best. In college, they're the best. But I say it all the time. When you get to the NFL, you're not playing against 2 NFL guys or 3 NFL guys that the best teams have in college. You're playing against 11 professional football players. You can't just rest on your laurels. You have to work your ass off on top of it, because if you don't, you get left in the dust. There's no substitute for hard work. So hopefully this coaching staff can figure that out, get these guys, get their head out of their ass, because there's talent there. And if they do get anything out of them, these guys are bargains. So, well, I guess.
And Cordell Fott's a perfect example. Nobody was rushing to the table to have him here long-term before he got his opportunity last year in his 4th season in the NFL. So
Wan'Dale Robinson's another one.
Yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson's another one. So every player grows at different rates. And by no means am I saying that I want Deonte Banks to be the starting cornerback next year. No, that's not what I want. I want the Giants to draft a cornerback as in this year's draft. But I wouldn't be shocked if Banks gets an opportunity if he plays a lot better next year because of the things we've discussed.
Right. Well,
I agree with you, but the one thing that I'll say is I do want Deonte Banks to be the starting cornerback next year, because if he is, it means he was really impressive during the summer.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Jason, thank you, buddy. It says Evan Neal has reps where he's displacing defensive tackles in the run game. In my opinion, he's our best run blocking O-lineman. Harbaugh sees something, Neal. If he can win a guard job, a run game gets to become a real strength.
It's Andrew Thomas, but I will agree that Evan Neal is a much better run blocker than pass protector. But it's Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, Andrew Thomas, like, is one of the best linemen in the league. So, but if Evan Neal becomes serviceable at that guard position, that is huge. Yeah, that'd be huge. So hopefully, Harbaugh must see something in him. And like I said, I'll give Harbaugh the benefit of the doubt, because he's done this before. And again, this isn't just an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator coming in here and being a head coach for the first time. This is a guy that is going to the Hall of Fame as a head coach. So obviously the way he views players must pay off one way or the other. So our guy SPP Williams. Thank you, buddy. Good to see you at, what is it? I think it's 12:11. I don't know if England has set their clocks.
Hours ahead.
I think they go later than us. So I think it's 12:11 over there. Either way, it's late, and we appreciate you tuning in, as always, from across the pond. He says, happy collective day. How much of this free agency do you think the Giants approaching this is step 1 with next year step 2? Yeah, got to walk before
because they didn't have a lot of money going into this offseason. They've been very handcuffed, and next year they have it was projected 120 million. Obviously that number's gone down now. It's probably closer to like 80, I would assume, but even still 80 is 3 times as much as they entered this offseason with. So I think that they're expecting to do a lot more damage next year, and they're trying to set up this team this year to be competitive. And then hopefully Dart proves himself the way that they want him to. He takes that developmental leap in year 2. And then next year you say, okay, now we go all in on Dart. We do sign this guy. We do trade for this guy. We do make this massive upgrade. We spend the money, and we maximize the final 2 years of his rookie contract window. So I think it's a good point, and I think that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, like I said, we have a lot of holes, and you can't fill them all in one free agent class. So yeah, you crawl before you walk. And the Giants have to crawl. They have to build a foundation, and then they got to build around that foundation. So I do think Harbaugh's bringing in his type of players that fit his type of scheme, building a foundation here. And then next year, yes, you have a lot more cap space, and Harbaugh will have an idea of what players he really likes and who he feels can succeed here, and who he feels, is expendable. So yeah, I agree.
I agree that they'll be even more aggressive next year in building the team, but I think Harbaugh plans to have this team competing this year.
Yeah.
I think he looks at the landscape last year and says, well, New England did it, Chicago did it. Like I believe in Jackson Dart, so I think he's going to be even more aggressive next year because I think he's trying to get this team to be a playoff team first, which I think is the goal this year, and then he's going to try to take that Super Bowl leap and be even more aggressive next offseason.
Yeah, he's going to go for it next year.
Yeah,
without question. Bam, bam. Thank you, brother. He said, I like that thumbnail. See that thumbnail right there? Harbaugh, Scatterby, Dart, Davis. Let's get to work. Trade back, pick up a third round. Trade back, get a third round. Pick Tate in the first round. Pair him with Neighbors, Austin, Scat, Likely, Johnson.
I think that's a great idea. I just don't know if they're going to be able to trade back, but I think it's a great idea if they can.
Especially for a third because, yeah, I mean, like you said, it takes two to tango, essentially, and there's no quarterbacks that people are going to trade up for. People might trade up for an edge, though, and I could see if David Bailey is on the board at 5 or what's the Miami kid's name? Bain. If Bain is on the board at 5, I could see a team like the Kansas City. What are they picking, 9? I could see Kansas City saying, you know what, we need some extra depth on the edge. We can move up for Bain, and maybe the Giants
maybe
do move back for a few. But
maybe a guy like Styles, I would want the Giants to take him. But if they don't want him,
yeah, right. But Styles also, because of what I was mentioning earlier with the positional value thing, it's kind of weird because we're like, okay, he could go top 4, he could go top 5, but also sometimes we've said this before in the past. Kyle Hamilton was a big one. People did think he was going to go top 5 or 10 because he was so talented. And then the positional value thing did factor in, and he fell to 14 for the Ravens to take advantage of it. Maybe the Giants could trade down, and they could take advantage of a Downs or a Styles or a Love falling down the board potentially. It's totally possible. And last point that I'll make on the Super Chat is if you want a wide receiver in the first round, you should trade down. You shouldn't take one at 5 because if you trade down at 5, or wherever you go in the first round, you're landing either Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, or Mekhi Lemon. You're going to get one of those 3 guys if you trade down. So trading down would make a lot of sense if you're going into the draft with the intention of taking a wide receiver.
And Jamie says, can we all just agree trading back is always better statistically speaking? I don't agree with that statement. I don't think it's always better to trade down. All you got to do is look back at when the Giants missed on Micah Parsons or Rashawn Slater, and they traded back and got Kadarius Toney. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to just look at it in terms of accumulating draft picks, sure, but I don't think it's always the right idea to trade down. I think in this draft, yeah, it could make sense if you don't think there's an elite player. But if you're in love with a player, I don't agree with the philosophy of trading down. If you're at a pick where you think you get a gold jacket player, you don't get cute there. You take the player.
Yeah, if you really love a guy, you can't take a chance that you're going to trade back to 9 and that he's going to just magically be there. You don't know, but it would behoove the Giants to try to get extra picks because we don't have a lot, and you do need them when you're low on salary cap and you're trying to fill out your roster and get some players here. L. Shorty said, "Thank you so much." John Harbaugh is bringing on board wide receiver Calvin Austin, the receiver who caught the game-winning touchdown against the Ravens. And what was Harbaugh's final game? I'll be right back. I got to do something real quick.
Yeah, we talked about him at the top of the pod. He's going to be, I mean, I don't know. We'll see if he's a starter this year. Right now, he'd probably be the projected slot receiver, but, we still have a whole draft to go. But you would think at a bare minimum, there's probably a good chance he could be the punt returner, but that could also be Gunner, who the Giants decided to re-sign. So we'll see. But he'll certainly be in the mix in training camp, and he's at least an enticing option who's had some success at the NFL level with the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't think he's a starter. I don't think anybody should view him as, an upgrade over Darius Slayton. If you're playing a game tomorrow, Slayton's your WR2, which I know fans don't want to hear. Yeah. But he's definitely your upgrade over Jalen Hyatt. And that's important to me that the Giants are making those kinds of upgrades right now. They are finding value in this free agency market and adding depth and upgrading over their depth pieces. So I think that's important, and anything to get Jalen Hyatt off this team, bro.
Maybe they'll put him on special teams. I do feel like we might actually have a little bit of a competition at returner between Banks, Gunner, they can put Singletary in there, Turbo. They had Tracy doing it, and now Calvin Austin. But I know that Austin is more of a slot receiver, but I still like the idea of having like a slot by committee. And I like the idea that if Calvin Austin makes the roster, that you can rotate between him and Gunner. If Gunner makes the roster, you can put Malik Neighbors in the slot. Like you'll have options there instead of, spending $19 million on Wan'Dale Robinson.
Calvin actually played more snaps outside this past season. So
Oh.
he was pretty equal share, and he has been throughout his career. He really moves inside and outside. He's got a good amount of flexibility, and he's got a lot of speed. I think he ran in the 4.3s. So yeah, I like his ability to move around, and I still think Isaiah Likely is this team's slot receiver. I don't think that anybody that they sign is going to play more in the slot than Isaiah Likely. He's going to have at least 50% of his snaps in the slot. And he's going to play more snaps in the slot than any other player. And I don't think they're going to go out there with a lot of 11 personnel anyway. I think they're going to live in 12 personnel. So they don't really need to go much further than upgrading the depth like they did with Calvin Austin, unless they want to get a sick WR2 on the outside like a Carnell Tate. But other than that, I don't see them, like I mentioned, trade down, then you could target a Tyson or a Mekhi Lemon. Lemon's probably going to play in the slot at the next level. He's probably not going to be somebody that the Giants covet because they're not going to run a lot of 11 personnel. So they're either going to upgrade with another big-bodied outside receiver, or Isaiah Likely is their slot guy, and everybody else is just going to rotate in there with him.
Yeah, well, Calvin Austin runs a 4.3, and he can't be worse than Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt was pretty much brought in here because of his speed. At least you got a guy that can play at the end of a level. We know Jalen Hyatt cannot. So I'd be surprised if Jalen Hyatt's on this team, I honestly. But who knows? I was on board with Jalen Hyatt longer than anybody, and no, I can't be on board with him anymore. If Anthony's getting mad at him, then it's over for him. Anthony's one of the most patient Giants fans I know. So if he's had it with Jalen Hyatt, then it's over.
I'm glad I present myself that way. I don't think anybody who's in my house on Giant Sundays would actually think that, but I'm glad that you think that. I'm very presentable is what I'm getting from this.
You are. I've seen the other side, so I know what's in there. So like I said, I like that. I like
everybody's
that.
got a bad dog in him, right?
You guys get pissed, right? Everybody's got a little bad dog in him, so I like when I see that.
You just have a lot of bad dog in you.
Yeah, listen. Somebody said in the chat, I don't think I've ever been called this in my life. He said bad dog's very grounded. I must have had a good take there because I'm not usually that's not an adjective to describe me. I'm usually pretty emotional, but we mentioned before, man, 10 years of really shitty football here, and it's tough, man. When you cover this team, 3, 4, 5 times a week for years. Like I've been doing this on here for this will be my 9th year, and I was on here in YouTube's infancy, but they were good. They were good when I was here in 2007, obviously. In 2008, 2009, they were good. I came back in 2014. They've been terrible ever since. So, actually, God, that's been freaking 12 years. Now, am I talking about? It's just been a long time, and it's a lot of bad football. And the Eagles have won, 2 Super Bowls in that time, and it makes me sick to my stomach that they've been the team that's been the best. I'm sick and tired of the Giants being a speed bump and being the butt of everybody's joke and everybody looking at the Giants in this division going, oh, good, we got 2 buys. We got 2 wins there. I'm sick of that. I want to compete. I want this team to be good. I want Giants fans to be excited going into December, going into, January when we play meaningful football, that we are playing on Saturdays in January. Even if we lose, just get there, get these guys some experience, let them get some confidence. And next year, you beef up the team more. And as long as you have your quarterback and the rookie deal, you can really build around him, and then you can compete. Anthony mentioned it earlier, and we've mentioned this a lot. We saw the Bears turn it around in 1 year. We saw the Patriots turn it around in 1 year. So Jacksonville Jaguars, right?
The Colts. The Colts, right, too.
So it definitely can be done. We saw this team compete against the best teams in the league last year. They were not getting blown out every week. They lost in heartbreaking fashion, but you can see there is talent here. Now we just got to figure out how to close these games out and win. They do that. Like I said, the culture changes immediately. So you got a head coach who knows how to win, and I think that's super important. But we'll see how it translates. It all looks good on paper. We'll see how it goes.
I don't know why I just thought of it real quick. we're talking about obviously the Giants. What did you guys think about Geno Smith coming back to the New York Jets?
The Jets will chat.
That was crazy. That might be crazier to me than the Evan Neal thing, because when he first left the team, didn't like one of the Jets players like break his jaw? Like he left on like very bad terms with the New York Jets. So
it's like Evan Neal coming back to the Giants. Like, what is wrong with you guys?
Yeah, but Evan Neal is expendable. Like Geno's their quarterback. Like that's way, that's different. The quarter. I don't know what the hell the Jets are doing. They should have just signed Kyler Murray. I don't know what they're doing.
Or Russell, like
go there though.
Anyone. I don't know.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I think
Russell's choosing where he wants to go, and he wasn't going to go to the Jets. I know it's a hot take. I really don't hate Geno Smith there. I think that's a major upgrade over what they've had. Geno Smith, I saw somebody tweet this, so it's stolen valor, but Geno Smith is the best quarterback that the Jets have had since Geno Smith. That was a great tweet, and it might be true. I don't think he's awful. Like he had a really bad year this past year in Las Vegas, but I just think that team was so bad and so poorly coached. And even the year prior, he was starting to lose a step with Seattle, but he's still a much better quarterback than the Jets.
Here's my question.
Are the Jets better than the Raiders, or are they better coached? I mean, they had Pete Carroll there.
No, probably not. Probably not. I think Aaron Glenn is the worst coach in football. I can't believe he has a job. So, but I don't know. I just think, listen, Geno isn't the worst quarterback in the world.
That's the worst quarterback. That's who. I just think that they're still going to win 4 or 5 games, and he's maybe 6, and he's not a part of your future. So I don't know.
True. But in terms of getting a bridge, there's worse bridges that you could have, and I think they just experienced that this past year with Justin Fields. So
yeah,
the Jets don't know what that just shows you how hard it is to get a franchise quarterback. And they've had 3 top 5 picks in the last 15 years: Sanchez, Darnold, and Zach Wilson, and none of it has worked for them.
And now they have more. They have the 2nd pick this year, and they can't even get a quarterback.
Right, because Dante Moore said, "No, I ain't going to the Jets. I'm going back to school." So if the Jets,
the worst part is, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to take that off the screen. I think the Jets. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was going to say the worst part for the Jets is even if they bottom out, they get the first pick next year. They're not even going to get Arch Manning.
Yeah,
say, fuck you.
That's what I was just going to say. He's going to say, "No, I ain't going there."
Stay in school for another year.
Yeah, I was going to say. Lou Boogie. I haven't seen Lou Boogie in a minute. Hope you're doing good, man. He says, Adriana's F-bombs on. Anthony's off-stream with the Wi-Fi crashes. Yeah, F-bombs and girth. And Anthony said, I'm out for a second. SPP Williams with a double up. Thank you, my friend. He says, what are you most excited about this season? For example, likely Ricard, Scatterable rolling defenses, Dex back to dominance, Neighbors toasting teams that try to stop the run with 13 personnel or something else.
I'm excited about all that, but you didn't even name the 3 things I'm most excited about. I'm Jackson Dart year 2. Okay. Jackson Dart year 2. I'm beyond excited about that. John Harbaugh, just seeing John Harbaugh on the football field, in the press conferences. And Abdul Carter. Like I think Abdul Carter is going to be a monster next year, especially with the way that he finished. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of the biggest Malik Neighbors fans in the world. He might still be my favorite player on the team. I love seeing the sexy Dexy sack dance, but I got to go with those 3 are the things that I'm most excited about.
Out of the things you listed, sorry, I was going to say Neighbors, but as Chris just mentioned, Jackson Dart year 2, that's the thing I'm most excited for. Not even close.
Yeah. Seeing all of this written out and then thinking about Dart, Burns, Carter, Harbaugh, whatever, I'm like, it feels kind of crazy that there's actually a lot to be excited about. Like all of this. And then I'm thinking about Scatteraboo lining up in the red zone with Patrick Ricard behind him. Like we're going to score touchdowns almost every time we're in the red zone. Like I feel like there's just going to be so much that we can be excited about. And I love Abdul Carter. I cannot wait to see him in year 2, especially if he's wearing number 58. If we get Sonny Styles at 5, forget it.
He's wearing 3. I saw that today on Twitter.
Fanatics have that. I don't know how true that is or not. I saw it too, and I was just like, that's clean, but I don't know that he's wearing that number.
I don't like that number for him, but I saw that. I guess it wasn't official.
I like 58 better for him.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, now that Okereke is gone, he could don 58. I'm really excited about Evan Neal coming back. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not excited about that at all. Yeah, Chris mentioned John Harbaugh. I think I'm wicked excited to have a competent head coach here, a guy that knows how to win, a guy that's been there, a guy with a ton of experience. I think the Giants have a very good young core of players, and I feel like they need to be coached up and they need to get a taste of winning here. You see Jackson Dart took these losses hard. That one in Denver, he was pretty much in tears about it, kind of blaming himself, even though it wasn't his damn fault. He scored 5 touchdowns. I don't know. Nobody else scored 5 touchdowns in Denver. Denver only gave up 30 points twice. We were one of them. Philly gave up 30 points once. We were the only one that scored 30 points in Philadelphia. So Jackson Dart in year 2 with a guy like Isaiah Likely, but a guy like Harbaugh that can get the most out of these players. That is what the coach's job is. We've seen flashes of brilliance from these guys. If he can get stuff out of Evan Neal and Deonte Banks, it's only going to make this team better. The fact that the Giants' special teams will be a lot better too, again, it's overlooked. But to have a guy like Stout instead of Gillen, it's such a that is going to make such a difference in these games when guys have to go much farther down the field. When we're flipping field position, you know what I mean? If we're kicking the ball inside the 5 and they go 3 and out, we're going to get the ball back around the 40-yard line, as opposed to if they get to the 20 and guys kick the ball, we're going to get it like the 30. So that is such a huge deal.
And you talked about a 15-yard difference. Specifically on that part of the field, that's a massive 15-yard difference. When you're backed up inside your 4 or 5-yard line, if you have a punter that could do that, the offense has to operate at a much different, they're going
to be more cautious.
Yeah, so
you can't you're not really going to open it up from down there. So
yeah.
He's
a big addition. He's a big addition.
I just like the way they handled it. I like the way that they didn't overextend. They were patient. They didn't give out these gigantic contracts. They're just kind of filling it out, and we still have the draft to go. And Adriana mentioned it. If you get Sonny Styles to go with Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, I mean, that's going to be pretty exciting to watch, especially with a defensive-minded guy like Harbaugh. So I think Harbaugh is the right guy, because anybody that knows Giants football knows we win. We've always won on running the football and playing defense. Harbaugh kind of has that philosophy. There's definitely talent on his defense. We know that. And offensively, they got to get a little bit better, but obviously he's building. You bring in Ricard, you re-sign Luminor, you bring in Likely, and I'm sure they will bring back GVR. They'll have some competition there. It won't just be Evan Neal. He's not going to go in as the starter this year. So there's still a long ways to go. There's still guys that they can sign, but I'm kind of, I don't want to say excited because I want to curb my enthusiasm, Larry David, but I want to curb that and go in and just say cautiously optimistic that we're going to be a lot better. I do feel like we can be, but at the end of the day, the Giants, man, I always say the Jets will jet, man. The Giants have been gianting for a decade, and we got to get out of this rut. But I'm excited about everything you mentioned and then some. So hopefully it all comes to fruition. And like I said, we're doing this show next year. We get into Thanksgiving in early December instead of bitching and moaning about what the hell went wrong and we're mock drafting. We're talking about a playoff push, and we're excited about Giants football. That's really what I'm hopeful the most about, is we're playing meaningful football, into the winter. And that'd be a nice change of pace. With that said, that brings us to the end of another edition of Giants Collective. Big shout out to the chat. If you haven't done so, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up. It helps. Maybe we get to 300 likes. That'd be great. That costs nothing, but it helps out the show a lot. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We would love you to come on board. We had almost 800 people in here the whole night. There's still 700 people in here. So
wow,
the chat is awesome. I really appreciate that.
You guys fucking rock.
Let's fucking go. Check us out on TikTok and Instagram. Again, we just have a Twitter now. It's @GiantsHMA on Twitter. Check us out over there. Again, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, and of course, Amazon. And of course, Apple. If you listen to us on Apple, leave a 5-star review. That also helps out huge. So we will see you on Tuesday. For Adriana down there, Anthony over there, Chris down in the corner. It's the Bad Diggity Dizzle. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week. Go Giants. And we gone. Peace.